People who wanted this verdict say it is a fitting punishment for a heinous crime. The same jury that convicted Dzhokhar Tsarnaev of murder took roughly 14 hours to decide that he should be executed.
And Tsarnaev did not flinch when he learned that he will die for what he did. For almost everyone else, it was an emotional day, a day of justice for the 4 people killed in the bombings and the manhunt that followed. Tonight, a group of survivors outside the federal courthouse were leaning on each other, as they have throughout this trial. Jim Armstrong has been inside the courtroom since the beginning. He begins our team coverage live from South Boston tonight. Jim?
Well, David, indeed, as you mentioned, the defendant seems to be the only person in that courtroom not emotionally affected by today's sentencing. He had to stand along with his legal team, as did the jury, when the verdicts were being read by the court's clerk. After they were finished, everyone had a seat, and at that point, several members of this jury, women and men, broke down in tears, absolutely overcome with all the emotion of the last several weeks. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the Boston Marathon bomber, showed not a hint of emotion as he learned he will die for his crimes. Jurors sentenced the 21-year-old to the death penalty on 6 of the 17 possible counts, the ones that had to do with the murders of 8-year-old Martin Richard and BU graduate student Lingzi Liu, both of whom were killed by the bomb Tsarnaev put out in front of Forum Restaurant.
Even in the wake of horror and tragedy, we are not intimidated by acts of terror.
The jury sentenced Tsarnaev to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the shooting death of MIT police officer Sean Collier and for the death of Crystal Campbell, who was killed by the first bomb in front of Marathon Sports.
The most amazing thing was the inspiration and motivation that these victims gave us every single day.
Jurors made it clear they hold Dzhokhar Tsarnaev responsible for all of his actions. They agreed with almost every one of the prosecution's so-called aggravating factors that led them to impose death.
Will you be talking later? Any comment?
Tsarnaev's legal team left court without a word. This jury roundly rejected the defense's so-called mitigating factors, like the claims that his older brother Tamerlan actually planned the bombings and forced Dzhokhar to participate, or that Dzhokhar was the victim of an unloving family.
The issue of remorse was an issue that was put before the jury. They heard evidence about it, and they rendered their judgment on it, and I think that it's their judgment and not our personal views on anything that really matters here.
Okay, guys.
After the sentence was read, Judge George O'Toole thanked this jury profusely for their service. He then sent Dzhokhar Tsarnaev into the custody of the U.S. Marshal's office. He will stay here locally before he eventually makes his way to federal death row in Terre Haute, Indiana. He'll stay local because in a couple of months' time, perhaps a bit sooner, he has to come back here to federal court to be formally sentenced by the judge. At that point, victims and survivors and family members, if they so choose, can deliver victim impact statements in front of Tsarnaev, in front of open court. After they're finished, Tsarnaev himself will also have the chance to address them and the court if he so chooses. Live outside federal court, Jim Armstrong, WBZ News. David.
Jim, thank you.